Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, your significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, this show is for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create a life you love or love the life you create. Now, here's your host, Dr. April, and co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K? Oh, I'm not sure if she's having a little bit of technology. Yeah, I think you're frozen a little bit. But anyway, we'll welcome the audience. Welcome to December, guys. I know it's already been 15 days, and I know I'm saying welcome to December, but for me, this is the first time I feel like I'm really thinking about Christmas gifts and that kind of stuff, which for a lot of people can be extremely stressful. But for some people, you guys are organized. You have gifts and Christmas trees up and stuff. So, Coach K, it seems like you're somewhat organized and ready for Christmas.
Yes, and that's my son and my husband, not me. Christmas Eve is when I do all the shopping, and that's it.
Oh, you wait till Christmas Eve? Okay, that's pretty late. Yeah, well, I guess I'm like maybe 2 days before you. So
that's when you spend less when you just go in to get what you need to get and get out.
Definitely. Yes. And if anybody out there is listening and they're struggling, because we've had a lot of different issues going on, inflation, hurricanes, and you're struggling, you don't know, how am I going to get my kids something? We here at Bringing Intimacy Back, our charity of the month is Toys for Tots, which is such a great organization. You can, of course, donate to that organization, which is why we're talking about it. But it's also an organization if you need toys for your young ones because of a variety of needs. Don't be ashamed, because if you have to ask for help, we all have had it to do it. Check out Toys for Tots. And Coach K, I believe you're a drop-off place.
I am. They're actually coming to pick up the toys that we've collected. They're coming by today to pick up. And I've had to use it, when my children were small. So definitely a great program. And I'm always excited to be a part of it.
Yes, definitely. So it's www.toysfortot.org. Yes. So you know what? I'm so excited because in this topic today, we're talking a little bit or a lot about dating.
Yeah. The dating world is booming. So being able to talk about it, it's probably going to be helpful to someone.
Yes. And definitely, as I think about being in the holiday season, it's really difficult when you're dating, especially if it's, less than a year, or maybe this is the first holiday season. You don't want to, do this or do that. But then what also I like about our topic is because many times we just talk about general dating or whatever, but today we're focused on a special population that doesn't sometimes get the discussion going, that people don't talk about. So I'm excited because we're talking about the LGBTQIA plus community. Yes.
This really does mean so much. It is just an underrepresented population in too many places. And as much as the community scratches to say, hey, we're here, we're human, we just want to be among everyone else. Stop trying to put us over here in this special category.
Right.
We're people. So this is definitely a much needed discussion. And I'm glad that you're bringing this, your guest on to be a voice.
Right, definitely. So I'm bringing on, we have a special guest. He's a master certified life coach with over 10 years of experience. And so when we come back, I'm going to introduce Wesley Toma. Hopefully I said it right. If not, he'll correct me. And we're going to hear the in and outs of dating. We'll be back in a moment.
Jamaica, Paradise Island in the Caribbean. Discover quiet waterfront treasures just mere steps away from paradise. Enjoy true Jamaican specialties, live reggae music, hotter than Hades, spiced jerk pork, and chicken sold from beachside vendors. Join vacation counseling in Jamaica on February 12th through the 15th. Surprise your Valentine with a sun-kissed, relaxing romantic getaway to Portland, Jamaica. What are you waiting for?
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy Show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Wesley.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. How do I say your last name so I make sure I say it correctly?
It's Wesley Toma.
Toma. Okay, well, yes. So, Wesley, you've been in the field, you've been coaching for over 10 years? And
Yeah, I think actually probably closer to 15 at this point, but yeah.
okay, awesome. Yeah. In different communities, the kink, including polyamorous, non-monogamy, BDSM, other non-traditional relationship. And I guess your goal is to help people really navigate the sometimes scary world of relationships and how to become better partners, communicators, and negotiators.
Yes.
Yes. So this show is called Bringing Intimacy Back. And one of the things that I always ask all my guests is, how do you define intimacy?
So for me, intimacy is a very broad term. A lot of people think of intimacy as, being with a partner in a one-on-one or in a group, usually in a romantic or sexual way. For me, intimacy is any kind of interpersonal relationship can have an intimacy to it. You can have an intimate relationship with your coworkers, with your bosses, with your parents. It doesn't necessarily mean, a sexual or romantic relationship. It just means you have a deep connection with another person.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, that deep connection. It's really sometimes doesn't happen right away, so it takes time. And then when you're in the dating process, it is finding, who can I make a deep connection and be my authentic self.
And it's tough sometimes.
Yes, definitely. So, and what you do as a coach, in the sense of intimacy, how does that affect your process as a dating coach or a life coach, a certified life coach?
It's big because there are a lot of people I feel that don't really understand what intimacy is. They don't understand what relationships are, and I can say that as somebody who was in that place.
Right.
When I was younger, I didn't know what a real relationship was. I don't think anybody really does. Nobody knows what it is when they're going into it. I didn't actually learn what a true relationship was like until I met my husband 12 years ago. And he was the one that really showed me what it's like to be a partner, to be an equal, to be that person that you need to be when you're in a relationship with somebody else, And so I think a lot of people are still, even if they've been in relationships for a long time, they still don't have that nuance down, and they don't understand a lot of the details and the work that's needed to be done. So I try to help them expand and explore those parts of their lives, of their relationship, that they may not have expected or may not be doing to the fullest and truest that they can.
Yeah, beautiful. I was just thinking about in the LGBTQIA community, one of the process that probably before it even gets to intimacy is that whole coming out. Because before you can be truly intimate with someone, you got to know yourself.
Absolutely, 100%. If you aren't true to yourself, then you can't really be true to another person.
You're right, definitely. So how does that affect this whole dating process? And
it makes it a lot harder. I think it can make it a lot harder, I should say. I do know now, I'm in my 40s now, so the world is very different than it was when I was in my 20s and first started dating. Back then, it was, dare I say, dangerous to hit on the wrong person or to show interest in the wrong person, because it wasn't as accepted as it is now. It's still not fully accepted as it is, but it's a lot better and easier to deal with now than it was back then. Now people are a little bit more understanding, a little bit more, they're not going to basically hit you for if you hit on them and their masculinity is threatened as they feel. So I think it does make a difference, because when you look at like the basic straight world, male female into relationships, it's a lot easier to, guy looks at girl looks at guy. When it comes to a lot of queer relationships, whether it's male, female, or even when you throw in like trans or non-binary peoples in there too, the waters get muddled in terms of, is this person that, like, not only is this person not interested in me, but is this person even interested in my gender or my sexuality or whatever, so it does add a little bit more to it, and it makes it harder. They do have, gay bars and gay clubs and stuff that you can go to and you can meet people like you, but there's few and far between compared to, a regular bar down the street or the regular nightclub where you can meet anybody, and and it's not as, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that even with the openness that we have today, that even going to an actual gay bar, there's still people in there who are almost predatory, or they're not comfortable within themselves, and so you still kind of are teetering that scary line of, I still really don't know who I should communicate with, and how much added pressure in the dating world is that still adding?
Yeah, I think I think in any community, there's still, as you put it, like, there are still predators and people you need to look out for. Even in a gay bar, you don't want to leave your drink unattended, because you don't know what could happen. The thing is, with, from what it seems, at least with the gay community, at least from my experience with the gay male community, because that's the only experience I really have, is it is a little bit more open in terms of sexuality, off the cuff. So, you go to a gay man's club, and there's going to be a higher chance of, some sort of sexual encounters between couples that have literally just met on the dance floor. And that can be dangerous, because, you don't know that person. You don't know if that person is, not only if they could potentially hurt you, but if they're carrying anything that they're not disclosing about, and a lot of people are just so eager and easy just to jump, into a bathroom and, have a little fun. And they don't think, and it's not until the next day or whatever that they realize the risks that they've potentially put themselves in. And it can be very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Is there still some misconception that that's what you're supposed to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't think if there's misconception. I think that's actually a really good question, and it's a hard question, because I think in the gay community, it's not really a misconception, or as much as like it's a thought that most gay men have, that says, if this is going to be a good night if I could hook up with one guy, two guys, whatever.
Right.
Most of them go out to the club for that. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, the straight community, they go to the club to dance. They go to the club to meet people. They don't necessarily go to, have relations in the back alley or in the bathroom. So I think but I do also think a lot of the ideas of what a gay club is, right, in the straight world is also misunderstood.
Okay.
It's not all, as much as I'm saying, yes, they right, are all forgetting having sex, but it's not all about, hedonism and this stuff. A lot of times we go clubbing, once a month to a nightclub, and, we just go to dance and have fun and party,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was younger, club colors was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now VCU has bought the building, so it's not a thing, but I would go there with my brother-in-law. He wasn't my brother-in-law at the time, and my friend from school, and we would just go because, number one, the music, the DJs was banging, and you didn't have to worry about just people just always hitting on you, because everyone was there to really have a good time. It was a place to feel free dance, enjoy each other's company. So there was, if there was some hooking up, in the bathroom or whatever, that's fine. But it was genuine, true. We're here to have fun. And it wasn't just the macking all day long, trying to pick up lines and all. So I can understand the freedom, and you can get lost in that and just like, okay, I'm feeling so good. Let's just go.
Oh yeah. And I have a lot of female bodied friends that go to gay clubs because they know the guys aren't going to hit on them, and they're not going to have to constantly say, no, 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 get off me. It is a little bit more comfortable for them because they're not the I hate to use this word, but they're not the prey. But even for game, for me, I can go to a club, and unless I'm like showing that I'm interested, I can still have a good night and not be bothered.
That's what I was going to say. The respect level is definitely different. And I'm wondering, is it because outside of that club, the community is just now being a place of acceptance, and each one inside of the club knows how it is for the other person outside. So does that give a different layer of respect? And so dating can be so quick and connective because you're in there, you're vulnerable, you've peeled back the layers, and you can truly get to see this person as their true self in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of that. Like I always say, it's kind of the same thing when you have two people who go through a traumatic experience who kind of become intimate or get into a relationship because they had that shared trauma.
Right.
I think there is some of that in there, being, especially when you come to people who are like around my age or older, who have lived through a time when it was really dangerous to be out and open in the world. We have that shared trauma where we kind of look at each other, we just kind of get it. But with that said, me and my husband are in a polyamorous relationship, so we do dating as well. And I could tell you, like, we actually recently opened up our relationship a couple of months ago, and dating in my 40s is just as bad as it was in my 20s. And the guys, the stories I hear from women and how men are, the guys, even the gay men, are not any better or any worse. They're the same. It's, when somebody hits you up on a lot of these dating apps, their first thought is getting laid. And, you could usually tell that by the first picture they send you is not of their face, as an example.
Yeah. So and I'm sorry, Dr. Abra, if I'm just like,
no,
just thinking about the polyamorous world. And number one, there are millions of misconceptions about polyamory. It's like, oh, it's a free for all. It's like, no, it's still a relationship. Get it together. But thinking about that, you're dating your partner, and you're also dating potential suitors and new partners. How does that how difficult is that? And does that pose a strain on the core relationship sometimes?
So in terms of difficulty, it is much more difficult because there's much more involved. Not necessarily just like you with another partner, but you and your primary partner. Like me and my husband, since we opened up our relationship, if you thought you needed to communicate a lot when you're in a monogamous relationship, you have to multiply that by 10 when you're in an open relationship, because you need so much more communication. You need to be able to talk about a lot more things, about everything. We talk more now than we did, before we opened up our relationship, and the people think of it as a free for all. People think of it as just a way to, get laid or have fun. And yeah, I'm sure there are some people like that, but most people who are in polyamorous or ethical non-monogamous relationships, they're doing it because they want, like we were talking about, they want the intimacy, they want the connection, and I will say from my experience, and I have a lot of friends who are poly, if you don't have to have a primary partner. I do. You don't have to. But those who do practice who do have a primary partner, they say, and I can 100% contest this, my relationship with my husband is way stronger and way better now and way more intimate now than it was before we started this adventure. And I think it's because we are opening ourselves up. We are allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable. We're allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable to each other. And we're allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable, showing that vulnerability to somebody outside of us. So it's kind of putting us in a bit different space, and it's like, and we're talking, like I said, we're talking more, it's like we have conversations, when we first started, it was just a lot of like, meeting guys, getting to know them, talking. But now we've been doing it for a little while. We're starting to find a couple partners that we actually like on an emotional level. And we had to have a conversation about that. It's like, this is becoming a different dynamic, And so I think people, if you do it right and you do it, and you don't do it in a way that's unfair to either half, then I think it can do wonders for any and all of your relationships.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I was thinking that sometimes people think about going poly when they're having issues in a relationship. However, you need that wonderful communication.
100%. In fact, we've been married for 10 years now. We just opened up, like I said, a couple months ago. And the reason we've been talking about it our entire relationship. The reason we didn't is because we wanted to see a couples therapist.
Okay.
And it wasn't because we felt there was something wrong with our relationship. We wanted someone there to make sure we weren't going to ruin the relationship. So, before we even opened our relationship, we said, we need to get a couples therapist. We need to sit down with someone and talk to them, make sure we're not screwing up. And, we don't want to come out of this experiment worse off than we went in, because we weren't bad when we went in. We were great. We had a great relationship.
Right. So another question I have from a person out there, name's Polly. And Polly was wondering, when you're dating, when is it on the first date or after a few dates, do you open up and tell, like, maybe you're in a poly relationship or you're trans or all those other things that people may not see in the surface? How do you know when you can?
I think that is more of a personal question for person to person.
Okay.
I know for me, on my dating profiles, I say I'm in a poly marriage.
Okay.
And I'm looking for partners. I don't lie. I've gone on dates and talked about my husband.
Okay.
So I'm very open. We're very open. We know people who are trans that will, before they even meet the person, they're going to tell them, just so you know, I'm trans. Is this okay?
Right.
Are you still okay with this? Some will wait a little bit longer because especially for people who are trans and non-binary, it can be a little bit more dangerous for them.
Right.
To come out than it can be for someone like me who's not. So for that, I think it is a very personal. I think you want to tell people as soon as you're comfortable, but you don't want to wait too long and then lead them down a path of, I guess, falsehood. But you want to make sure you tell them when you're comfortable, to tell them when you think they're ready to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that answer of tell them when you're comfortable, and also be kind of what you're saying, respectful to the other person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because especially in the dating, being comfortable is everything.
Oh, it's 100% everything. And, like you said before, I also come from the kink community, which I also help. And the kink community, it's all about trust. It's all about communication. It's all about comfort, which is something that I think the vanilla world, as I call it, could learn a lot from.
Right. Because I think even, especially with the kink, it's also being comfortable and giving consent.
Yes. And in discussing boundaries and sticking and trusting that each partner will stick to those boundaries.
Okay. Yeah. Since you mentioned a great word, boundaries, how do people, when they're starting a date, discuss boundaries? Because that's...
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people do it right. Personally, I think, from my own personal experiences and from talking to people, I think a lot of people jump into relationships and they discuss the boundaries when they pop up. and that's not necessarily the best time to do it. You know, whether it's in bed or just in life. You know, people don't talk about those red lights that they don't want crossed until somebody crosses it, and they say, "Oh, don't do that," and that kind of puts you in an awkward position. What I think, and what I try to do, and again, maybe it's because I'm a Kinkster and that's how we think. I try to. I'm upfront about everything with my partners. Like when I'm talking to them on the apps, I'm telling them, you know, this is what I like. This is what I cannot stand. If you don't ever do something like this, this is a red flag for me. You know, these are the things I want to do. These are the things I will never do. You know, and I'll tell them that, you know, both for being intimate and just day to day. You know.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is also, I'm thinking many people have a list of what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They have a list of what they can bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
They also need a list of their boundaries.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people have that list. They just don't have it like on paper per se.
Right.
I think one thing that I actually tell some of my clients as a practice is to put them on paper.
Right. Exactly.
Because it helps ingrain it into your head. And then if at any point you are having a conversation with somebody, if you want to make sure you're not going to miss anything, you can pull out the list and say, these are my boundaries. These are my limits, you know, or at the very least, you can look at it over and over again and then ingrain them more into your head. So when you have that conversation, you won't forget, oh, I forgot to do this one. I forgot to mention this one. You won't forget them as much because you'll have it in your head more.
Yeah. Wonderful. That is great advice. And yeah, I like about that being authentic. I've heard of some couples who have dated, and right at the first meeting, they tell everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all the good, the bads, and whatever. Yeah. But they have developed really strong relationships because they were honest and truthful.
Oh yeah. And you have to be. And, you know, honestly, you know, and everyone knows when you're dating, not every relationship is going to work out.
Right.
Most likely it's gonna flop. That's just how dating and relationships work. But building a relationship on misunderstandings or even downright lies is not gonna serve you well. So what does it hurt being open and honest on the first date? If that person that you're talking to doesn't agree with what you're saying, oh, you probably weren't going to stay with them anyways, because they're not willing to accept you for who you are and accept your boundaries. So might as well get that out on the first date, then wait till 3-4 months down the road, and then something to pop up and surprise. There you go.
Okay. So if you're new to the LGBTQIA community, or you've been struggling in the dating, what are some do's and don'ts and tips?
If you're new to the community, welcome. we have a membership card. You pick it up later. Just kidding. I think things you're going to watch out for is being truthful, being honest, and listening to people who. And I hate to say this because I'm about to give advice, but listening to people who want to give advice. And I say that because there are a lot of people out there who are the predators, who are, you know, the people who you don't want to trust, that are out to groom somebody who doesn't know better. And they're going to be the ones that are going to be the first one to come to you, say, trust me. It's okay. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to help you through that. Always be wary of, and I could say that even in the straight community too.
Right.
Anybody who's like that, you want to be cautious of. You know, when I talk to partners, and you know, I reiterate over and over again, I'm not going to do anything you don't want to do. And you know, the conversations we have, I've had partners be like, I've never spoken that openly and comfortably about my relationships, my sex life, or anything with a person, and this feels, because that's what I want to do. I want to I want to normalize sex, but I want to show them that I'm not going to take advantage of them. I'm not here to just get pleasure for myself. Forget about your thoughts and needs and wants. I want you to have an equal part of this relationship, you know, with me, so we're on the same level.
Wow. Yeah. I like that, how you said it's just where it starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, because where it starts, and and how you start impacts everything else.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The process.
Yeah, and like I said, it's better to start on the truth than it is on a misunderstanding or a lie.
Okay. A lot of people talk about dating apps.
Mm-hmm. Hate them. I'm on a bunch of them, but I hate them.
Okay, so tell me about that. I mean, yeah, the process, like you say, you're on a bunch of them,
Mm-hmm.
and many people who are dating are, but then they hate them, and do they really work? In that aspect.
Well, I will say, I met my husband on a dating app originally, so I think for that reason, I think they work, or I think they can work. I think a lot of people who use them for one thing only, and that's not a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people use them to find just something for a Saturday night.
Yeah.
But I think if you endure and you, again, if you're open and communicating and you're talking to people, like, you're going to find somebody that you can connect with. I've found a couple of people that I've connected with, nothing that's worked out so far, but they weren't just random hookups or no strings attached things. I mean, I've even had guys when I tell them, like, and I say it right on my profile, I want to get to know you before I'm intimate with you.
Right.
And when they message me and I reiterate that I want to get to know you and I start asking them about their life, they'll stop messaging me because it's not what they wanted. They're like, yeah, we'll get to know each other. But by that, he just means what I like to do in bed. And
Right.
It's not. I want to know you as a human being.
Right.
And I think with the dating apps, most people are looking, I don't want to say most, but I think a lot of the people are looking for that hookup or that Saturday night date. But if you endure and you stay true to yourself, you can find those people who are actually looking for some sort of relationship connection and want more than just, somebody to bed once and never talk to again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you find that, so you're very open. Do you find that most people are open also?
I find that most people are very uncomfortable with my being open.
Okay.
I think because I do think I'm very open. I have no problem talking about sex. I have no problem talking about intimacy. It's actually one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'll talk about it with anybody. I've talked about sex with my parents to their dismay. So I'm always very open, very out there, and I can talk about it I can talk about it like we're talking about making a sandwich. It's not a big deal in my world. Mm-hmm. And some people find that very uncomfortable. And it's because we are raised in a culture where sex is still taboo. And intimacy is something that you only do behind closed doors with your loving partner, and nobody talks about it.
Right.
So when I'm out at a club or I'm out at a restaurant with some friends and we're openly talking about sex, like as adults, not even just being, disgusting people. We're just talking as adults about sex and relationships. People get very uncomfortable. And I've noticed it on dates too. When I do it, I've had guys get very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's even in the, that's even in my world too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's everybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They get very uncomfortable, but it's something that happens and it's something that needs to be talked about.
It does. And I think it needs to be talked about more often than it is.
Yes. Yeah. And it needs to be talked about, even at younger ages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the worst time, and I will say the worst time to talk about sex is right before you're going to have sex.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So I know that you do coaching. Can you tell us a little bit more what kind of coaching you do and how can people find you?
Sure. So I'm a relationship and intimacy coach. I do any kind of relationship. Again, doesn't have to be sexual or, partners. It could be, family. It could be mother, son, brother, sister, any kind of relationship, any kind of intimate connection that you want to work on. I'm happy to help you with. As we said, I do focus mostly on the queer and kink communities, but that doesn't mean I would not help somebody else who isn't part of those communities. Relationships are relationships no matter what your sexual preference is. So I'm happy to help. If you want to reach out to me, you can go to my website, which is wesleytoma.com. It'll tell you everything about me. And at the top corner, there'll be a little button that you can click to sign up for a free initial visit consult. Everybody gets that first visit free, so that way we can see if we're going to mesh, if we're going to work together, and that way if we don't, it doesn't cost you anything.
Awesome. And then you have a podcast coming up in January.
Yes, me and another life coach, Lori Sweetman, we are starting a podcast. It's called These Queer Stories.
Okay.
We're both part of the queer community, and we both work with the queer community, obviously. And so the podcast is basically stories of being queer, what it's like to live that life, what it's like to come out from that life. And at the same time, we are both life coaches, so we are trying to do it so if people have any questions or concerns, we want to be able to help them and can help guide them down paths that are going to be better for them than not.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We really do appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. One thing I love about doing this show is because I learn.
Absolutely. And today was no different.
Yes. And so to hear, and also, to stress the importance, one of the things he talked about was so important, is about communication and relationships and being your authentic self.
Yeah, because I think just more people are afraid of being who they truly and genuinely are. So the more that we can talk about it and remind people that it's okay to be you, because there's only one of you, that hopefully it becomes ingrained in people, and especially in our LGBTQIA plus community, that it is perfectly okay for you to be genuinely who you are, which is another human being who loves like us, who talks, walks, works. You just have a bigger love that can allow you to embrace what many people just are not able to embrace.
Exactly. Sometimes people think love is only I can only love one person.
Right.
Like there's a limited amount of love.
Yeah, because that false handbook that's out there in the world about how relationships are supposed to be, whatever chapters are not written in there, we don't know what to do with that. So it's just like, something must be wrong. No, what's here is exactly what it is that you share with the world, period.
Wonderfully said. Yes.
Well, we have some great, first we have some holidays coming up, and then we have some great shows coming up beyond that. So, definitely for the 22nd and the 29th, we're going to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. But then we're going to be right back here on January the 5th with Intimacy Hacks for Long Distance Relationships with Sean Hyman. And then on January the 12th, When Sex Goes Wrong with Susie Hayes. And it's crazy that I'm talking about January, because that means that December is almost gone.
Right. Yeah, but in the shopping's going to start soon. Like you said, you're waiting to the December 24th, when it's just half a day.
Yeah. And so in the area that I'm in, there are two holiday markets that are coming up. So I may get some. I did some knickknack shopping with some local businesses.
Awesome.
So I started a little bit early.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And besides Christmas and New Year's, we also want to highlight the other holidays that many people don't talk about.
Kwanzaa, Hanukkah.
Hanukkah, yes, yes. So when we're saying happy holidays, we want to say happy holidays out there to people out there to enjoy that time of this year where you actually are thankful for the people around you and you celebrate what they bring to this world, what you bring to this world. And it's also time just also for taking a break from the busyness of life and just to rest and be at peace.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yes, yes. So we will see you guys next year in 2023. Thank you guys so much for this wonderful year. Thank you, Coach K, for being on the show this year. And I will see you next year.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and happy holidays to all.
Yeah. Happy holidays. Okay. See you guys next year. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.